What's going on, guys? It is the Lone Courier here, and I'm here to give you guys my first impressions of the final release of Doom, because I reviewed the beta, and obviously I knew that things were subject to change because it's a beta, but obviously not much was going to change, if you understand what I mean, because a beta is probably the closest example of what the full release of the game is going to be. You know, when developers are like, oh, things will change. Not much does. I mean, some weapons and whatnot may be rebalanced, some maps may have some tweaks, but nothing much is going to change, you know. Basically the way the beta is how the full game is going to be. I did actually review the full beta for Doom, so I will leave that down in the description if you want to go check it out. But the full release of the game, dude, this game is so good. That's one thing I have to just get out there right now. This game is possibly one of my most favourite games this year. Like, seriously, I don't think I've had this much fun on a game in a long ass time. And I mean, when it comes to other games that came out this year, it's not that hard to be the best, because this year the games haven't exactly been the best out this year. I mean, in terms of big FPS AAA games that have been out, there's been Call of Duty, and that's been basically it. I mean, there has been others, but obviously Call of Duty kind of just steals the limelight because, well, it's Call of Duty, and it's, you know, there's no outshining Call of Duty. I mean, Battlefield has, but, you know, obviously that's a discussion for another day. But in terms of games this year, not much has been that good. But this game really is good. And I mean, when it came down to the beta, a lot of people were complaining. I feel like the complaints were more on the side of the PC port of the game though, because I'm a console player through and through, and I really felt for the PC guys, because apparently it wasn't that good. But seriously, the console port, it's okay. I mean, this basically feels like a console game that's been ported onto PC, even though it should be the other way around, because if you're aware, Doom was the obvious ultimate PC game back in the day, well, FPS anyway. But it's a really good game, honestly. That's one thing I can say right now. It doesn't matter what it's capped at, you know, 1080p by 30 FPS, blah 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 blah. I still think it's a really good game. When it comes down to it, there is quite a few things I want to talk about. I'm going to start off by talking about the campaign, because obviously that's what's been showed off the most. A lot of multiplayer has been showed off, but campaign. So, campaign, it's basically the same as any other Doom game. I just want to say right now that this is perhaps the perfect sequel to the original Doom, in terms of a campaign anyway. This is as close as Doom as you're going to get on next gen. You know, because the original Doom game, if you played it, it's all super fast paced. It is undeniably fun. I love the original Doom so much, even if I didn't play it back in the day, because obviously it came out in 1996 and I was born in 1998, so it's 2 years older than me, but I still respect the fuck out of the original game. This game is not as fast paced as the original one, but it still maintains that fast paced, super action setting, you know, just gore, lots of guns, stuff like that. You know, it's hard to put your finger on what makes Doom so unique, but it's just Doom, you know, there's no two ways about it. It does maintain the same style as the original Doom, I will say that right now. Obviously, you've got the creepy enemies. A lot of things that people have been complaining about is some of them aren't creepy enough, or some of them are like a little bit too gory and whatnot, and it's like, well, the original game was released in 1996. You couldn't work with much, and I mean, when it came down to Doom 2 as well, that was released maybe a year after the original Doom, so there wasn't much they could change. I mean, if they had the enemies, if they had like the technology from nowadays, that's probably how the enemies would look back then, but you know, whatever. The demons and whatnot, they are really terrifying. Some of them are, at least anyway. Obviously, some things are kind of similar to Doom 3. You know, you've got some bits that are kind of similar. Most of it is more similar to Doom 1 though, which is what a lot of people are going to be happy about, because Doom 3 wasn't that good. It was an okay game, but it's more of a horror game than it was, you know, fast-paced FPS like the original or second Doom games were. You know, the third Doom game was, if I could compare it to any game out there, it would be very similar to the Fear franchise. If any of you guys remember that, it was just basically this weird ass horror FPS series that is out there. I played a couple of them, but I wasn't too keen on them, because obviously I was quite younger, and obviously that scared the shit out of me. But you know, Fear, that's kind of what Doom 3 was like, but this is more just like Doom 1. You know, it doesn't even try to be anything else except from Doom, and that's why I love it, because, you know, I wasn't going into this expecting any other game, and I wasn't disappointed. That's, you know, I didn't really have many expectations for this game other than it is going to be a good Doom game, and it's been that so far. So that's campaign out there. I'm going to do a full review on this game at some point. This is just first impressions, so this is maybe like my first impressions from like the first 2 or 3 hours of gameplay, so it may be subject to change, but this is my first impressions. Moving on to the multiplayer side of things, it's just the same as it was in the betas. There is a few more things, obviously, because it's the full release of the game. You've got a wide arsenal of weapons that you can use. Honestly, they're all really good, and it's quite hard to actually choose what one you want to use sometimes, because they're all good. They're all equally good. You know, you've got the combat shotgun, which is a pump action shotgun, or you've got the super shotgun, which does more damage, but the combat shotgun has a faster rate of fire, because obviously the super shotgun's a double barrel, whereas the combat is a pump action. So you know, there is real choice in there. You know, it's like, what should I use? You know, the slower one with more damage, or blah 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 blah. There is a lot of guns that are very cool in multiplayer. One of my favourites is the chain gun. It's basically a minigun that you can just run around with. It's a bit awkward to use, I'm not even gonna lie. It's kind of like the rocket launcher. I finally got into using that weapon as well. I never liked the rocket launcher during the beta, but I finally managed to get into using it, and it's a pretty good gun. But it's a very hard choice to choose what you want to use, because the weapons are all equally good. They all have their uses though. I mean, there is certain maps that, you know, just some guns will be utterly useless on. I mean, Doom is one of those games where you're that fast paced, you can use a shotgun on any map really, but you know, there's some maps where using a long range weapon is more preferred over using like the super shotgun or something, which is understandable. I like that, you know. I didn't want too much change in the maps, you know, where it's like, oh, this is quite a long range map, so I'm going to have to use a sniper or something. It's not really like that. You can use whatever you want, but it's more like, oh, this is quite a long range map, so I might take a shotgun and a rifle, you know, to compensate for that, whereas usually I would just take something like a close range weapon, like the plasma rifle or the lightning gun or something. But I do like the choice in it, and when it comes down to it, it's a really good choice system. You know, the loadouts, fair enough, it's not exactly true to the original Doom game, but I mean, in terms of modern games, not having loadouts is kind of weird. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded actually having the traditional pickup system, but I guess I'm fine with the way they're doing it now. I mean, the main weapon that you can pick up in the map is obviously the BFG or the Gauss Cannon, which are both deserved of being pickup weapons because they're one-hit kills, you know. But yeah, moving on to the demons now. The demons, yeah, they're a really big subject of controversy when it comes down to the multiplayer aspect of Doom 2016 at least. Because people are complaining because they're like, oh, they're a bit too newbie, they're like kill streaks in Call of Duty. Some people see them as being really cool. I mean, it's not like they've just came up with them for this game. I mean, the demons are from the original games. You know, you've got like the Baron of Hell. I don't know if the Prowler's a new one, because obviously I didn't exactly play the original Doom game too much. I did play it once though. You've got like the Baron of Hell. There is the other one, the Mancubus. You've got stuff like that, and then obviously you've got the Reaver, not the Reaver, the Revenant. So it's all similar stuff. If you've played any of the Doom campaigns, you'll be familiar with all the demons, which is really cool. It depends. My feelings on them are very mixed. I mean, some of them are balanced, some of them really aren't. I mean, when it came down to it in the beta, a lot of people were complaining about the Revenant because, oh, it's got a jetpack, it's got rockets, this is so newbie. But the thing is, it should be in the game. You know, that's my final thoughts on when it comes down to the demons. It's not very newbie. I mean, when people are like, oh, it's like a kill streak from Call of Duty, it makes it more fair because it is randomized. I mean, it's randomized spawns. Well, it depends what mode you're playing. I mean, when it comes down to modes like Warpath, it's quite easy to determine where it's going to be, because the demon rune will always spawn at the opposite end of the objective, which is quite a weird thing, but you know, it is what it is. But when it comes down to the demon, it is fair because they spawn the power weapon and quad damage at the same time. Fair enough, it's not always going to be quad damage, but you will get the power up or the power weapon at the same time, so killing the demon will be easy if you can get your hands on one of those power weapons. Sometimes depends what demon they're using. I mean, if they're using the Revenant, it is going to be hard to kill it, but it is possible. But when it comes down to it, you've got stuff like the Mancubus that is quite easy to kill when you've got the BFG or the God's Cannon, but you know, it's just a matter of skill really, I guess. I'm not saying I'm amazing at the game or anything, but you know, overall this game, it does kind of require a little bit more skill than the average game these days. I mean, Call of Duty, you know, kids are that used to having games that have got regenerating health. Obviously Doom never had regenerating health, is never going to, so there's no stopping for cover. This is just fast paced, super fun action, and it has got boost jumps in it, but they're the most weak boost jumps I've ever seen, so it's all good for that in my opinion. You know, I think they're quite a good part of the game, you know, because it does help you traverse around the map. You know, when it says Call of Duty, when they're like, oh yeah, the movement system helps getting around the map, it doesn't really. But when it comes down to it, the Doom boost jump really does help you get about. That's very easy to get up on the platforms, which is something I quite like. Obviously, it's very different from the original Doom game, because in the original Doom game, you couldn't jump. So, yeah. Obviously, the stuff like that's going to change. I mean, it's 2016. You can't expect a game to release the exact same as it did in 1996. So, yeah, things have changed, but it's for the better. You know, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I mean, that is very true for this game, because it's very, very familiar to the original Doom games. So, if you enjoyed them, you're probably going to enjoy Doom 2016. It's a good entry into the franchise. It's a lot better than Doom 3 in my honest opinion. And yeah, if you're a Doom fan, you definitely owe it to yourself to pick this game up. Even if you don't like it too much, even if you feel like it's not exactly the most classic Doom experience there is, it is still a lot damn better than most FPSs out there these days, which is something I can say right now. So yeah, that's been my first impressions of Doom 2016. There will be a full review at some point, and I will cover snap map and stuff like that. But so far, I've had probably about 7 hours worth of playtime over the campaign and the multiplayer aspect of the game. So this is just my first impressions, and yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. It's been The Lone Courier. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I always do appreciate it. Or if you've got any questions about the game, or if you just want to talk about them, leave it in the comments, because I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, it's been The Lone Courier. Peace.